Hi everybody. So today I'm going to talk about CCQC, which we sometimes like to refer to as the evidence sandwich. And CCQC is the most effective way to learn to insert evidence into any kind of an essay. So a CCQC is just a pattern for inserting evidence. It's not some kind of a rule. It's just a pattern for inserting evidence into any essay, and it'll be very useful to you all through high school in any subject and also in college and beyond. And in a CCQC, the evidence is sandwiched between other information that your reader needs to understand your evidence and also to be convinced by your evidence. So a CCQC stands for claim, context, quotation, and commentary. And it was invented here at Drake, and I know that some of you have used it at White Hill and other places, but this is the birthplace of the CCQC. So the claim is the assertion that you'll support with your evidence. So your claim is like a little thesis. It supports your thesis, and it's usually the topic sentence of one of your body paragraphs. You make the claim in order to have something to support. The context is where the evidence comes from. If you're writing about literature, it's frequently at what point in the story does the evidence arise so that your reader who hasn't read the book can locate it in the story. If it's another kind of evidence, it might be where does the evidence come from literally, like does it come from the CDC or according to the Department of Energy, etc. The quotation is your evidence itself, and in literature, quoted evidence is always the best when you're writing about literature. And that doesn't mean you're quoting what somebody says in the story. It can be any piece of text directly quoted from the piece of literature. Other kinds of evidence don't have to be quoted. Commentary is really important because that's the you in your essay. It's your chance to explain, analyze, think about how the evidence supports your claim and further develops your idea. So here's an example. If we were writing an essay about a letter from Birmingham Jail, which you've all read, by Martin Luther King, I might come up with a claim like this. King argues that African Americans have waited too long to be given their rights. So that's one of the things that he argues in the essay, and I'm making a claim about that. And again, that claim would probably be the first sentence in one of my body paragraphs. I have to give some context. What's he talking about at that point in the essay? As he prepares to list the many injustices Black Americans are subject to, he describes the slow, insignificant progress of his cause, saying, now there's two things I want you to notice about this. First, context frequently begins with a time word. Here I used as, sometimes it's after or before or when, something like that. And also notice that I've got a speaking verb at the end of my context that'll lead me smoothly into my quotation. There are a couple of other ways to do this that I'll deal with another time. Then I've got the quotation itself. We still creep at a horse and buggy pace toward gaining a cup of coffee at a lunch counter. So things to notice about this are, because it's a quotation, I've got quotation marks around it. Also notice that I've got an ellipsis at the beginning, something you probably refer to as a ... And the ellipsis shows that there's some text missing that I didn't start right at the beginning of the sentence. And finally, my commentary. And this commentary is just one sentence. I'd probably want to do more than this. I'd probably want about twice as much commentary as I have evidence. But here's an example. King's words clearly express the outrage of a leader whose critics don't acknowledge the limits of patience for those whose progress toward even the most humble of privileges is frustratingly slow. So that's my interpretation of what King is saying, and it shows my thinking. So here's another example. This is from a New York Times article about politics and car safety, in which the author, Cynthia Wachtel, discusses how many major politicians have been affected by major auto accidents and wondering why they don't emphasize the safety of cars better. So her claim is, why not enact laws to improve the safety of cars, roads, and traffic systems? So even though she's stating it as a question, that's really her claim. And then she kind of mixes up her evidence and commentary in the next three sentences. Stricter graduated license laws, so that's her evidence, could protect teenage drivers and those who share the roads with them. That's her interpretation. New technology could prevent drunken drivers from operating vehicles. Laws banning drivers from using handheld phones and text messaging, again, that's her piece of evidence, could be enacted nationally. And then she gives a piece of interpretation of evidence she's about to offer. The savings would far outweigh the costs. according to AAA, crashes cost us about almost $300 billion a year, and that does not factor in the heartbreak. So while she's got all the pieces of the pattern, she's got a claim, she's got evidence, she's got commentary, she's got them all mixed up. And this is something that you'll do as well once you get more sophisticated at using CCQC. So if you're already really good at it, you're probably already doing that. And if you're just starting out, you'll probably want to stick pretty much to the order of CCQC to make sure that you've got all the parts and that it follows a logical sequence. So the exercise for this video is, for each of the claims you've already written for the crafting claims exercise, write a CCQC inserting and developing some evidence. Now you may have to do some research to find some more evidence, but you'll be able to gather evidence to write this next essay you're going to write. So remember that the best essays have more than one piece of evidence in support of each claim. You want to give as much evidence as possible and develop each of your claims as fully as possible. Okay, good luck.